Hello everyone and welcome on De Papier de Rêve channel. I'm Ursula and today I will be painting with you some water lilies. It's a subject I've painted already several times and I really like it. And if you want to see it, there is a few videos on my channel about it and I will put the link in the description just below the video. For today's reference picture, I went to Montjuic, which is quite close from where I live in Barcelona. And here there is a park where there is a collection of aquatic plants and there is a few water ponds with a lot of water lilies in a lot of different colors. It's really a beautiful place and I really enjoy it. It's very calm and very pretty, and yes, I choose to paint a scene from this little trip in Montjuic. I've started this painting by applying some water on my paper with a big brush. I'm not thinking about shape at this time. I'm just applying water quite randomly in order for when I will put color in this place, there is something that will happening. And then with a green made with Indanthrene blue and nickel as a yellow, I'm starting to put some shapes on the paper. I try to think about the shape of the water lilies and make some round shapes. And I will also, of course, paint around the flower of water lilies because they are white. I've chosen to paint some white water lilies, so I have to just protect the white area of my paper by painting in negative painting techniques. As you can see, there are some soft edges and hard edges already on my paper, and that's just because I've put some water at first on my paper. So where there was water, the shape will be quite soft, and where the paper was totally dry before adding color, the shape are quite neat. So it's an interesting technique in order to just loosen up your style a little bit, to put just some water in random places on your paper, so there's something happening when you will add some color. So each time I'm going back to my palette to pick up some colors, I'm changing it a little bit. Sometimes it will be a little bit more blue and sometimes it will be a little bit more yellow, and this adds a lot of interest on my paper. The green isn't the same everywhere and it's quite like that in nature also. I'm building the background step by step. I want it to be very soft in some area and quite neat and hard, with hard edges on other areas. So I'm paying a lot of attention to that. And when things are not as soft as I wanted, I'm using the sponge in order to soften everything up a little bit more. And step by step, all my paper will be full with color, except the two part of where there is a flower. There is a big one in the bottom of my page, and there is a more little one at the top of my page, in order also to give some sense of depth here. And I do that by changing the size of the flower. So I've added some darker color into the background with some indigo and transparent red oxide. These two colors together add some depth to the background, some things that are a little bit more interesting. The transparent red oxide has a warm touch to it that is quite interesting against all the green around it. So it's quite a balance of warm color and cool color here. And I continue to add some colors into this background in order to just build it and make it more interesting step by step. My paper at this stage is starting to dry a little bit, and it's still wet, of course, but the color I'm adding right now are moving a little bit less into the wet area. They are still soft, but a little bit more defined, and they will blend a little less. And because of that, I can make some marks in a little bit more defined way. I can just pinpoint where I want some darker area. I can have some almost graphic marks with some lines. They will be still diffuse and a little bit blended with the other color, but it will still be a mark that will just be a little bit stronger than the other marks. I think that at this stage you can see the foliage of the water lily come together a little bit. There is some foliage, some leaves that are a little bit more defined than other, but I think that it's coming to come together. And because I have a lot of round shapes because of the foliage of the Nymphea, I wanted to have some marks in strong contrast against those round shapes. And that's why I'm making some lines here. There was an iris here in this pound, and I wanted to just have this idea of height, some just graphically change in the shapes. I wanted to add that in my painting. I'm almost done with this first layer, but before I'm letting this dry totally, I want to add some colors into the flower. And for that I'm using Rose Madder Lake with a tiny bit of nickel azure yellow in order to have this peachy pink shade. And I will add it into the flower in a very soft way. Things will be very blended at this stage because I want to add some details a little bit later. My first layer has totally dry and I can add some more details into the flower, and I want to start with that in this second layer. And for that I'm using rose madder lake with a tiny bit of lavender in order to have a cool purple that is quite pink also, but still in the cool tone. I'm adding this color with a dagger brush in order to have some definition in some area. I can really make some fine lines with that brush, and of course when I rinse my brush I can also just soften the edges a little bit and make it a little bit more flowy. As I'm working with a white flower, I'm starting the shadow work a little bit light because I want it to have time to correct if I need to, and I want to have time to see also with the other color in the background if things are working well. If I need some more color, I can still add some more color, but if I'm adding too much color too quickly, it can be quite difficult to take the color off the paper. My focus point here on this painting is the two flowers in the bottom of the page, the two big flowers, and there will also be a bud of flower in this area. And the tiny flower at the top will have less details because it's not the focus point. So I can be a little bit more just suggestive in my shapes, and you will still recognize that it is a flower of water lily, but it will be a lot less detailed. Now I'm using some transparent red oxide in order to make this water lily bud appear. It is quite in warm color with a tiny point of white. It was quite hard to find the shape of the bud and to make it pop against the nymphaea. I will use some tricks in order to make it appear a little bit more lively. I will use some darker color around it with some indigo in order to make it appear a little bit more precisely on the paper. And as you can see, my first layer has dried really light, and I need to add a lot more darker color in order to build the contrast and make the flower also pop a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm adding a lot of darker color with some indigo. I think that indigo is the best color here for the darker color because it can make you think about water, because it's a blue color, but it's really dark, and I think it's a perfect color to make everything pop a little bit more. So I'm still working on the background. I've added some darker color, as I said just before. I've added a lot more transparent red oxide also into the background in order to have this contrast between cold color and warm color with the transparent red oxide. But I need also to add some more greens into the foliage because I've lost a little bit of the freshness of the color, and I need to add some more pigments in there. I'm still using the same mix of color for the green. It's Indanthrene blue and nickel azo yellow. And I've changed my brush for an oval brush that allows me to make some rounded shape quite easily and quite in a flowy way. I really like to work this brush on oval and round shapes because it's working like a charm. I just have to make my brush goes into the paper, and I think I'm doing all the oval shape without thinking about it. I need also more definition into the bottom flower because there was quite a light area around the flower, and I wanted to pop a little bit more, so I need to add darker color in this area. So I'm painting in a negative technique way around the petal of the flower, and then I will soften up some area in order to just get this flowiness that I love in watercolor and to keep everything really flowy and dreamy. It's also the perfect time to refine the shape of the flower and make some correction if I want to, in order to make it a little bit more, to make the petal appear a little bit more neater. Everything is coming along quite nicely, and I really like this painting. It was quite fun to paint, and I really love it. I don't know why, but I really enjoy to paint some water lilies. I like to paint the rounded shape of the leaves and make the flower appear on the paper in white against the dark background. It's a really fun subject to paint for me. But I need some more color into the background. I still feel that the green are not green enough, and I want to make the color a little bit more vibrant. So I'm adding another layer of green with always the same mix. It's my most favorite mix of color for greens, Indanthrene blue and nickel azo yellow. And I pay attention to change the mix a little bit each time I'm going back to my palette in order to have some a really big variety of tone of greens in the painting. I think it's always more interesting that way. I also want to add some more darker color into the painting. It's really a balance to find against the darker color and lighter color. And here my flowers are really light, and I want to make them appear even lighter. And for that I need to just darken around the flower. I have some colors that are a little bit more dark in my painting, and that way the flower will appear even whiter. It's really a balance that I'm working a lot in this second layer, and I'm adding a darker color step by step. I'm taking always my time for that because I do not want to add too much darker color either. There is a balance to find, and for that I need to just work my way quite calmly and slowly in order to find just the right amount of darker color. I was a little bit worried at first when I drew the vertical marks on my paper. I thought that they were a little bit too in contrast with the rounded shape of the water lily leaves, but I think that they are adding some quite interesting graphic shape in the painting, and this contrast between the linear line against the rounded leaves are really welcome, and it brings a change of rhythm into the painting. Of course, like always, the reference image for this painting is available on my blog. The link is in the description just below the video. And if you are trying this demonstration and this subject for yourself, please tag me in your photo in Instagram. I really love to see what you are painting with my videos. I really enjoy to see your work that you are taken from my painting. So please just tag me in your photo on Instagram or send me a DM with a photo. I'm always happy to see your work. And this video is now ending. Thanks for watching and I hope you like it. Please check the blog post for more information about it. And of course, tell me what you think in the comments. See you soon.